Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan showing improvements in religious freedom. Basically, two countries in the world that shows improvements in religious freedom. So the bigger picture of the world remains challenging. While we are adept raising awareness of these issues, there is a gap in our ability to offer practical solutions. This brings us to the pivotal question: how do we formulate and execute a comprehensive strategy that can reserve these trends and effectively promote religious freedom? Today I want to present you development of a LYNC model in Kazakhstan to advance religious freedom and social cohesion. In our strategic planning, we use this cycle strategic framework for transformation. He came up, more than a decade ago, he came up with the 10 points of defining the strategic framework of what needs to be done to engage country positively and to help certain country, which is open, of course, develop religious freedom. So engage the world as it is, enter to the front door, means be transparent and cooperate with the government, understand culture and local mechanism for respect, discern geopolitics, harness self-interest, come alongside what government and grassroots are already doing, develop top-down, bottom-up, sign roadmap agreement to work through local partnership, celebrate small steps, provide a product so good that cannot be ignored. So here's the map of Kazakhstan, a country where LYNC has been actively involved in developing strategies to address religious freedom and social cohesion effectively, and as a side effect support the prevention of radicalization. That's what we learned so far working in Kazakhstan actively since 2018. LYNC established a strong partnership with the Kazakh government, civil society, and 15 faith communities throughout the nation. The trust we built and the model we co-created have expanded beyond the capital and now spreading across the country. By organizing multi-phase retreat and educational program in the capital and all over Kazakhstan, LYNC has offered relationship building among various religious groups and improved their relationships to the government. LYNC's model has proven to be effective and uniting religious communities and civil societies to advocate for reforms and promote religious freedom in Kazakhstan. The projects we run in Kazakhstan are not sporadic events. They are interconnected to each other. And let me explain that. When we ran our first series of roundtable with Greg in 2019, our aim was to engage government, civil society, and religious communities in a dialogue that would result in some policy and or at least implementation changing recommendations. However, by engaging various religious communities and learning about existing policy implementation, we found the following challenges. So when we gathered our roundtables that consist of civil society, religious community leaders existed in that area, and government officials who regulates religious lives. So we found 4 challenges. The majority, first of all, majority religious group excuses itself from participation or shows very little interest in participation in such dialogues. In many cases, each religious group lobbies only their own group position and rights, and not to see the whole religious ecosystem. Because of the lack of training on religious and rule of law, international standards, and local religious legislation, the engaged stakeholders, especially religious community leaders, and of course government as well, in many cases are unable to provide thoughtful recommendations on the reforms and are limited only by addressing the local issues and conflicts. Why? While not worthy, does not contribute into original aim to reform the system. And the fourth, government officials involved in religious affairs, including law enforcement, in many cases are those who were raised and educated during Soviet time. They are afraid of religion and believe that religion is an opioid for masses and exists to control and manipulate. It's very famous Soviet cliché. So that's the challenges we faced when we gathered a diverse group of people to discuss religious life, religious reforms, and how to move forward. And of course, to address these challenges, we need to address these challenges. LYNC divided its core bottom-up and top-down activities into 3 phases to address the challenges that I just listed. Each phase building on the previous to create host country ownership on both ideologically and practically prior to moving to subsequent phase. So, first of all, we do multi-phase relationship building using multi-phase neighbors network model and repeat it again and again across the country. First, we create relationships between people of a different faith and the government. So when we gather people without relationships, when we gather people for the roundtable discussion who suspect each other, who do not trust each other, we do not have honest dialogue. We do not have honest discussion about even local issues. I'm not talking about the reforms. And the relationships on the first stage is essential. Second stage is education for religious and government stakeholders through cross-cultural religious literacy and regional rule of law trainings in targeted cities. Those involved in further religious freedom dialogues needs to develop set of skills, evaluation, negotiation, and communication rooted in a set of competencies in understanding oneself, understanding the religion of other, and understanding the context of potential collaboration. What we aim to do with cross-cultural religious literacy, just to remind or educate people, first of all, what that certain religion saying about how to engage the other. Was the religion of others saying about how to engage a certain person and how they can collaborate? It's also related to the government, because government regulates religious life, and Kazakhstan needs to be aware of this program and needs to possess the same skills. And the third, we establish ongoing roundtables based on IRF Secretariat model and integration of training and concept into cooperative dialogue to discuss any social issues and policy recommendations. I'll pause here and I yield the floor to Greg Mitchell, CEO of the IRF Secretariat and co-chair of the IRF Roundtable, to describe our emerging model in Kazakhstan, model of the networks of ongoing roundtables.
Thank you, Wade. Happy to be here. My name is Greg Mitchell. I've been co-chair of the International Religious Freedom Roundtable here in Washington, going back, I think, to about 2012. Chris Seibel was one of the co-founders back in 2010. So this roundtable in DC has been going on for 13 years now. So it's very successful. And it's a proven model, that we've been promoting around the world, including in Kazakhstan, really for the last 5 years. I mean, we started an ongoing discussion with the Kazakh government back in December 2013 when we did an initial trip. We did an IRF roundtable delegation to Kazakhstan back in December 2013. And that really started a dialogue that has continued to this day. And then I was happy to be with Wade when we went in 2019. We did an initial series of roundtable meetings, and I think in 4 or 5 cities. I think if you look at late 2019 through, I think spring 2020, we did 5 different cities. We did roundtable meetings in 5 different cities. The first half of each meeting in Kazakhstan, we promoted the model. So I'll kind of just really briefly just describe the key points, the keys to success of the model we've established here in Washington, because that's what I promoted. I basically told all the local Kazakhs who came to those roundtable meetings in 5 different cities about the model, and then showed them, there's other people in other countries that have since picked up on this model and they're customizing it for their own local context. So the keys to the model are: 1, it's multi-faith. All religions. The second part is related to that, inclusive. So it's multi-faith, and you can say it's radically inclusive. because it's not just the Abrahamic faith, it's not just the traditional religions, it's like, it's all religions and all belief communities, even newer ones, even religious communities that were started in the 20th century. So it's majority and minority, it's traditional, non-traditional, registered and non-registered in countries that have registration. So that's the second key. The third key is it's an equal citizenship model. So whether you're new or old, traditional or non-traditional, everybody has an equal seat at that table. That's why we use the term round table. Going back to the idea that there's no head table, there's no leader, we're all equal citizens sitting around that round table. And so these are, I like to say, they're round tables in the public square, because we also invite the governments to sit at that table with all their faith and belief communities, with all of them. And so the idea is that you have dialogue, you facilitate cooperative engagement between those faith communities and their governments. And the more they communicate with each other, the more they learn from each other, the more likely they are to work together. And that's just one story. I remember when we were in Shimkent, the highest government official who was there that day was validating the initiative we took to come to Kazakhstan, to offer and to engage in this dialogue with the Kazakh officials, which ended up, we started that in December 2013, and 6 years later, we're in Shimkent at a big round table where all faith communities were invited by the government, including newer ones, that had never been invited to sit at a table like that before, ever. I had two different representatives of two different faith communities coming up to me separately at the end of that they had tears in their eyes because they were so touched and so thankful that they were invited to sit with their majority community and their government for the first time ever. And they didn't even say anything. They were just happy to sit there as equal citizens on that day. Which really showed to me that all of these minority communities, even smaller, newer ones that aren't registered, not recognized by the government, they actually want to sit at that table. They want to be good citizens. So it's an equal citizenship model, but it's also a good citizenship model also, because if you're inviting all faith and belief communities to sit there as equal citizens, that's a path to better citizenship, meaning citizens, faith communities who are citizens, good citizens working with their government instead of against their government. So that's I think, a good step in the direction of stability and security also. So multi-faith, inclusive, equal citizenship leading to better citizenship. Those are the things that we did in the first half. We basically described how that works. And the fact that it's informal, everything we do operates on an opt-in basis, which means, when we come together in Washington, we share stories of discrimination, persecution, just challenges that each faith community is confronting day in and day out. And so the more they share those stories, the purpose of sharing those stories is to then catalyze multi-faith actions. All these faith and belief communities taking actions together, again, as equal citizens, all faith and belief communities engaging their governments together in multi-faith fashion, and then ideally working with their government to improve public policy, but also to work on, solving social problems. Because that's one of the things, what I wanted to say when we were also sitting there, that high government official was there, validating us Americans for bringing this model, promoting this model to Kazakhs. But then he looked at all of his faith communities, all of them, including the newer ones who had never been there before, but inviting them to take the initiative and come to the government with proposals on how they could work with the government in partnership to solve social problems. I found that remarkable as well. And then just to finish, when we're going through this model, and we did have some questions from the majority community there, and they were basically asking, do we have to include everybody? I remember fielding one question there where they were asking if we included everyone, even like smaller sects, SEC, the sects. And then my answer was yes, as long as they're peaceful. As long as they're peaceful and they don't advocate violence, then they're welcome. If they're willing to sit down and work with their fellow, faith and belief communities, they're welcome at our tables. Again, radically inclusive. But then what I wanted to say is, we did those first half of the meetings with Wade and I in the room. You know, us outsiders in the room, just telling them about our model. But then it was up to them. We left. Halfway through, we left. The second half of each meeting was just the Kazakhs. You know, we were gone, they closed the door, and they worked it out themselves. They basically had a discussion on, do we want to do this? And if so, how can we customize this for our Kazakh context? Right? And then it really, from there, it's up to them to take it. And we're just facilitators. You know, it's up to the locals to take it, to build it, to own it, and to customize it for their own local context. You know, we're not dictating, we're not saying we have to do it our way. But that's just another remarkable thing about it. And I think the Kazakhs have shown that they actually want to do this. The government wants to support it. And it's our most successful case study to date, as far as, you know, people around the world being interested in this roundtable model, inviting us over into their country, you know, and the government supporting us being in their country, sitting at those initial roundtables with us. And now there's agreement and there's signed memorandums of understanding. There's been more than one. We signed the most recent one in Georgia, in Tbilisi, at the end of June last year. And again, it looks like we're on track to establish a regional secretariat there in Kazakhstan. And that secretary would help to bring online this national network of roundtables throughout Kazakhstan, keep them connected and networked together and communicating and coordinating. And they can also be part of the global network that our secretariat is building and managing, you know, and we're based here in the United States, here in DC. So very successful. Is it done? No, but we continue to walk in the right direction, in a good direction. And it's a strong partnership, and we look forward to continuing that partnership with the Kazakh government and all the faith and belief communities there. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Many things that we suggest today to implement in Uzbekistan, we already do in Kazakhstan. That's why I was so confident that it will work, because it's one region, similar challenges, similar mindset in many cases, and a similar heritage, Soviet heritage. So many engagements, many successful projects that already bear good fruits, and it's not my assessment at this point, but the assessment of external observers. So we engage country stakeholders in relationship building first, then provide educational opportunities on to how better understand one's own position and how to relate to the other and engage those alumni from the previous experience in discussion around variety of social issues at the roundtables. So we are planning to continue our roundtables this year, and hopefully we'll start ongoing roundtables in Kazakhstan that would be a part of the global network of IRF Secretariat. So when we started the program, I of course communicate with many people and still communicating. I'm very interested in their opinion. We do surveys. And Pentecostal Bishop Ivan Kryukov described involvement in LYNC's project. He said, I strongly believe that LYNC is changing our worldview paradigm. I can admit that we were focused only on ourselves and saw only ourselves, but we live on this earth and the world around us is big. And what you are doing is changing our paradigm and helping us build new relationships at the higher level that already bearing great fruits. One of my friends, Imam Nazirkhan from Shymkent, approached me recently in Georgia and showed me the video on his phone and said, this video is your fault. That's what our parishioners now sending. And he played me the video. And the video was sort of a play as a young scholar approaching the older Islamic teacher, and Islamic teacher asking, what do you see around you? And they were in a gallery with different flowers, and he said, beautiful flowers, beautiful gallery. And he said, oh, okay, let's go to another room. They went to another room, and there were only white flowers. And he asked, what do you think now? It's a beautiful white flowers, but that room was better because the flowers were of a different color. And he basically told me that my mosque, which is the biggest mosque in Shymkent now, that's my parishioners sent me that. They started to think differently. he told me that even 2 years ago it was impossible that people from our mosque would be thinking about multi-faith world the way they think now. And he said it was your fault, because basically that's what you guys did. And he actually participated in all our events since 2017. In 2023 State Department report on international religious freedom acknowledged the LYNC's progress. The report stated representatives of some religious organizations reported improved relationships with the government authorities in comparison to previous years, with fewer instances of harassment and more invitations for direct meetings with the government authorities. Building on this progress, on January 2023, LYNC signed a new MOU with Caspian University, located in Almaty, Kazakhstan, aimed to deepening the impact of the programs. We already developed curriculum and syllabus for advanced training program in cross-cultural religious literacy, primarily targeted toward government employees and law enforcement officials involved in religious affairs. The first training is scheduled in October of 2024. We are doing it in partnership with Pepperdine University Strauss School of Dispute Resolution and the Committee for Religious Affairs of Kazakhstan. We want the committee to be involved from the very beginning, understand the process, support the process, and provide us the best platform to address the religious literacy from our point of view at the government involved in religious affairs. Implementing all the above-mentioned strategies requires measuring the results with a strong, trusted instruments. While brainstorming the methodology and overall approach, we thought that if we can create not only our engagement measurement instrument, but overall metrics and indices that would measure a positive development of religious freedom and social cohesion. So up until now, there is only negative indices and measurements exist to measure religious freedom. And we started to think maybe we should develop the positive. And with this, I would like to introduce Dr. Maxim Basin, who joined LYNC team in September of 2023 in his capacity as a religious freedom expert and senior researcher. He has extensive experience in developing religious legislation and the state policy, facilitating multi-faith dialogue and church-state cooperation, which he gained during his more than 15 years as executive director for Ukrainian Institute for Religious Freedom. He has also worked in Ukraine as a trainer on human rights and religious freedom in OSCE projects in Europe as an expert for the United Nations and Council of Europe and other international organizations. In 2019, Dr. Basin completed the advanced program on religion and rule of law at the University of Oxford, hosted by BYU, and became member of the International Center for Law and Religious Studies. He received his doctorate in law in 2021. His recent academic publications have focused on the peace-building role of religious organizations in global conflicts and on the impact of the Russian invasion on faith-based communities in Ukraine. And I'm delighted that Dr. Maxim Basin can now apply his experience to research at LYNC. And I'm pleased to invite him to present our pioneering approach that continues to nurture religious freedom and social cohesion in Kazakhstan and beyond. Dr. Basin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It is a great pleasure for me to join the LYNC team to conduct this innovative research that will benefit Kazakhstan and international religious freedom. I have the honor of presenting it today for the first time. We believe that it will be a game-changing initiative in assessing religious freedom in different countries, which will encourage governments to make positive changes. How are we used to evaluate the level of religious freedom? In most international reports, you will primarily read how repressive religious legislation is, how severely religious minorities are persecuted, the number of prisoners of conscience and banned churches, or other dramatic facts. Over the years, such a purely negative assessment has cemented some countries' image as a violator of religious freedom. Every year, we wait with interest to see which countries will be included in the list of countries of particular concern or special watch list again. It becomes difficult to notice positive changes in this outrush of criticism. Instead, LYNC offers a new metric for assessing the state of religious freedom based on positive indicators. Our metric aims to create a framework for building religious freedom even in countries that we used to consider authoritarian and unfree. Besides, we believe that our positive indexes will foster competition among governments worldwide. They can compete to improve their performance to restore the trust of free democratic countries, foreign investors, and other international partners. I will give you an illustrative example of how LYNC's positive indexes differ from a common approach. For example, Pew Research Center uses two 10-point indexes: the Government Restriction Index and the Social Hostilities Index, to rate the levels of religious freedom restriction in the country. The Government Restrictions Index comprises 20 indicators of restrictions, including efforts by government to ban particular faiths, prohibit conversions, limit preaching, or give preferential treatment to one or more religious groups. The Social Hostilities Index includes 13 indicators of social hostilities, considering acts of religious hostility by private individuals, organizations, or groups in society. However, LYNC's approach is not to report negative trends. Instead of this, we propose to monitor positive changes. We decide to encourage governments to take at least minor steps toward building religious freedom. LYNC's positive metric includes two components. First, Policies and Implementation Development Index, and second, Social Cohesion and Religious Pluralism Index. Currently, the Policies and Implementation Development Index is based on 17 positive indicators in two dimensions. One, compliance of legislation with international standards, and second, implementation of legislation by international standards. Each indicator consists of 5 points designed to demonstrate the country's progress in building religious freedom, from minimal positive changes to the desired international standards. The Social Cohesion and Religious Pluralism Index aims to assess the dynamics of social cohesion and the appreciation of religious pluralism. This index also has two dimensions. First, building trusting multi-faith and church-state relations to achieve religious pluralism. The second, increasing cross-cultural religious literacy. The index is based on quantitative indicators and 8 qualitative indicators. For data collection in Kazakhstan, LYNC will cooperate with a regional network of religious freedom roundtables to interview local religious leaders and government officials. We continue to develop this system of indexes and positive indicators to measure the positive tendencies in religious freedom and pluralism. And Kazakhstan is a pilot country, so we consider both the cultural characteristics of Central Asia and the geopolitical context of post-Soviet countries. Throughout 2024, we plan to consult about this research with our partners in Kazakhstan, and I'm happy to meet some of representatives of Kazakhstan embassy today. And also, We will consult with experts in the United States, such as the US Department of State and the US Commission on International Religious Freedom and others. This will allow us to improve our indexes to ensure a valid and accurate reflection of the state of religious freedom and social cohesion in Kazakhstan. We believe that our positive indexes will create a strategic framework for building religious freedom and motivate countries to improve their performance, knowing what steps may be next. We still have a lot of work to implement this innovative metric, so we call on you to support this LYNC project. We are open to communication and partnership to develop this initiative. Thank you.
For one of the elements of our engagement is we enter into the front door, we cooperate with the government, we build trust and engage the Kazakhstan government, frequently having transparent and deep conversation about our cooperation. Such an approach enhances trust and understanding. Today I'm happy to inform you that the latest president of Kazakhstan decree setting out the country's action plan on human rights and the rule of law consists of 2 action points, number 20 and 21, that completely corresponds with the LYNC project in this country. These are development of cross-cultural religious literacy and development of positive metrics to ensure religious freedom. Although I believe we are having interesting conversation here, it is not enough to have one briefing a year or a certain period of time. We need to communicate constantly about the idea and strategies we described today about Uzbekistan, model in Kazakhstan, to promote cause and achieve tangible results. With this, I'd like to introduce you Ms. Jessica Eturalde, the LYNC Communication Director. She's a journalist and a former TV host for Louisville Rediscovered and Hawaii's OC 16 TV. She's also a military wife and a mother of 4. Jessica,
thank you, Wade. Good afternoon, fellow supporters of religious freedom. I am honored to stand before you today as LYNC's new communications director, and I'm especially excited to present to you today some nuances of our innovative website, and particularly some things that I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to call some slides too, but that's okay. And this is going to be kind of a rapid fire thing. That's the point to figure things out. So first and foremost, to access our website during this presentation, just use your phone to scan the QR code located at the bottom of each slide. Next slide, please. In 2024, we're creating a central hub through our website at lyncommunity.org, which will serve as a repository for reports, research, projects, stories, and opportunities to collaborate. Next slide. Upon reaching our website, you'll find high-level menu tabs for LYNC's news, events, our latest and ongoing work, and how to get involved. Like many organizations, our website serves as the epicenter of all of our information. Next slide. Yet, we have taken extra consideration to identify and acknowledge the richness of our audience's diverse perspectives, interests, and goals. Recognizing this diversity, we have crafted a strategic approach that speaks to the mind, to the feet, and to the heart of outreach. LYNC has developed 3 crucial arms of communication for our diverse audience. We have one audience consisting of different governments that we aim to partner with in advancing religious freedom and social cohesion. Additionally, we engage with philanthropic foundations that are keen on investing in diverse initiatives designed to yield measurable results. And finally, our individual supporters who extend their hearts to our cause. Next slide. You may access each audience channel through our About portal, which shares who we are as an organization. Next slide, please. And provides 3 avenues of audience identity. Next slide. Now, for the government sector, we've designed a dedicated portal, slide, please, emphasizing that the government's self-interest could be what it could be in advancing religious freedom. It's designed to be a quick and effective access point for such information. Our goal is to contribute to the establishment of a stable and thriving society by offering comprehensive resources, including reports, partnership opportunities, and scholarly research. Additionally, we're translating our content into languages such as Kazakh, Russian, Uzbek, and more to ensure local governments can easily comprehend our initiatives and collaborate with us. How exciting is that? Next slide, please. For our foundation donors, we acknowledge, slide, our shared commitment to concrete outcomes, quantitative metrics, and the specific regions where our efforts are concentrated. Our communication with foundations is a harmonious mix of clear reasoning, demonstrable results, and genuine passion. In this segment, we provide resources that clearly demonstrate LYNC's impact, offering transparent insights into the tangible effects of our work on the communities we serve. Next slide. And finally, our engagement with individual supporters. Slide. We present a love your neighbor, a close and distant perspective by connecting practicality and emotional engagement to serve those who are most marginalized and or cannot help themselves. This approach leads us to a more problem-solution dynamic, engaging those who participate through public campaigns. Next slide. As we move forward and as we continue into this important week for religious freedom, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to present our website. Our mutual engagement and commitment fuel our mission and enable us to make a real difference by building religious freedom around the globe. Our new website is more than just a platform. Our new website is a community where collaboration, innovation, and action converge. Lastly, I invite you to reach out to me for questions or further discussions. Thank you.
As we bring to close, we exceeded again, but it was our attempt to show what religious freedom building look like in practice. Based on our trip to Uzbekistan, our findings, suggestions, hopefully some recommendations and opportunities to build religious freedom, touching the most sensitive topics and areas needs to be improved in Uzbekistan, as well as Kazakhstan, where our work started in actual involvement started in 2018, and I'm very grateful to the Kazakhstani government for continuous support. Since 2018, government and the embassy of Kazakhstan here in Washington, D.C. is always helping us to identify the best opportunities in the country, helping us engage more people, diverse community, Muslim community, majority community, minority communities, government, and without their help, we probably would not achieve much. I believe, strongly believe that they're helping us because they understand this, that the self-interest of what we're building together in this country. So, yeah, it was just a maybe glimpse of what religious freedom building look like, but again, it's very promising. It already bears good fruits, and I'm eager to continue conversation, not only conversation in this matter, but the actual engagement, practical programs, and tangible results, not only in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, but in many other countries as well. And interestingly enough to say, there is a few countries in the world currently that shows progress in religious freedom, right? That's true. And I know only two of those countries, this Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. Maybe a few more, I don't know, maybe. But unfortunately, very few of those countries. But Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan are among those countries where religious freedom building strategies started to be implemented. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your patience, for staying over a half hour with us and participating. I'm sure we can continue this discussion now and later. With this, I'm grateful for you. See you soon somewhere else.